Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to do another retro review. Today I'm going to do Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, I know I could have reviewed pretty much every Spider-Man movie since Brand New Day came out, but I decided to do No Way Home since that's one previous to this. But I might do the others another day soon, so. Anyway, this is Spider-Man No Way Home. Initially in development around the time Homecoming was in production alongside Far From Home, it was initially going to follow Peter's senior year of high school and would have a Spider-Man story never before seen, ever. However, development hit a brief snag when in August 2019, corporate drama meant that Spider-Man was going to be booted out of the MCU and that the Spider-Man 3 would have not been MCU or made MCU references. And people were pissed. One of my favorite pastimes while writing this was just watching videos from back then, acting like this was the end of the world, and of course, all the clickbait's writings too. Most of these videos are just lazy clickbait, but there are a few standouts about from this era. Specifically, Ed bounced Spider-Man into the Sonyverse, which is pretty funny, and also predicted this movie, ironically enough. I'd personally recommend it if you've never seen it or haven't watched it in a while. Anyway, if you remember my canceled MCU movies video from all the way back in March 2025, I briefly mentioned the Spider-Man 3 plot with Craven. Well, this was kind of going to be that. It was also kind of like if they weren't going to do the multiverse, they were going to do this, but also like it would likely been the plot of this Sony Spider-Man 3. Basically, it would have been a movie where Spider-Man's identity is revealed from something that's never mentioned or brought up. You'd only know if you watched the last. There would have been zero references to Tony or the Avengers, and Craven would have hunted Peter down. Now, it doesn't sound that bad, but remember, Sony did make Craven an animal rights activist in his own movie, so yeah. And the ending would have revealed that he is now in the Venomverse, from something we, again, probably wouldn't see, and he would remain trapped there for the rest of time. Thankfully, later on, Marvel and Sony got their crap together. Due to fan backlash, Tom Holland convinced Bob Iger on a call and some other corporate stuff. And then after that, production went pretty well. Although the film was delayed from May to December from its original July 2021 release date because of, you should know. And while most of the villains returned, Thomas Hayden Church and Reese Ifans, while they did voice their characters, couldn't return to play the characters physically. So that's why they're only shown in CGI form, and the brief scenes where they do become human are reused from their respective movies. Then there was the whole Toby and Andrew thing, which was kept secret for months. Like, Andrew was even lying to people about it until some leaks came in. Some believed them, some didn't. Someone even faked deep-faking it. I don't know how it's even possible. And then the movie came out, and well, it was a massive hit. It was pretty much the first massive movie to come out following theaters reopening. It was also the first billion-dollar movie following COVID. But anyway, now that I got all that out of the way, let's talk about the actual movie. The movie starts directly following the events of Far From Home, when Mysterio's video where he blames Spider-Man for the drone attack and revealed his identity is unveiled by J. Jonah Jameson, played again by Kai the Collector, who reprises his role from the Raimi trilogy. This causes a media frenzy, and Spider-Man keeps trying to escape everyone with MJ, but they keep following him. Even at his own home, he's not safe. He literally sees his apartment on the news. Peter's apartment is searched, and Peter and all his friends and family are sent for questioning. But thankfully, someone is here to help. Daredevil, well, only a cameo. He doesn't show up in this movie after the scene. Thankfully, he drops all the charges, but it doesn't stop the media frenzy. Peter is forced to move to Happy's condo, and he goes to school with paparazzi surrounding him and all the kids filming him. But the worst thing comes when Peter finds out that he, MJ, and Ned have been rejected from college, but Flash did make it in just because the others are Spider-Man and his amazing friends. He gets reminded of Doctor Strange for a Halloween decoration, and he visits the Sanctum Sanctorum. However you pronounce that. Anyway, Peter visits Strange, who's still totally unaware that Mortal could possibly still be killing sorcerers. Seriously, someone better get on to that. Peter asks Strange to make a spell to make everyone forget that he is Spider-Man. Wong warns him, but Strange ignores him, and Wong is never seen again in this movie. Unfortunately, Peter it up by altering it while the spell was being made. And this is what brings the villains in, because they knew people named Peter Parker who became Spider-Man in their universes. Peter goes to a highway to talk to a college employee to let him in when he meets his first boss fight, if you will, Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2. Peter fights him while trying to protect the employee. Dr. Octopus absorbs the Stark nanotech, which makes Peter able to control the tentacles, and thankfully, Peter saves the employee, who calls him and considers letting him and Ned and MJ back to college. But then the next boss fight shows up. Green Goblin from the original Spider-Man movie shows up. But Peter and Otto are saved by Doctor Strange. Strange has imprisoned both Doc Ock and the Lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man, who still looks more like he came from the 1993 Mario universe than from a Spider-Man movie. But anyway, Strange tells him that they're from other universes and that the multiverse is real. MJ and Ned are later tasked to track down the two remaining Spidey villains running around. The first one Peter meets is Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, followed shortly after by the Sandman from Spider-Man 3. They battle and both get imprisoned, but Green Goblin is still out there being haunted by his mask. And Green Goblin ends up smashing it and then ends up in Aunt May's support group, where he's fine until Peter shows up. Peter takes him to the Sanctum, where when Peter finds out that they were taken right before their deaths in the original movies. Strange wants to send them back to their universes, but Spider-Man wants to change their fates. This argument leads to a crazy sequence in the mirror dimension where most of the trailer and TV spot footage came from. Peter traps Strange and allows the villains into Happy's condo. Hopefully, nothing goes wrong. Unfortunately, Norman regains the Goblin persona, and he convinces the other villains to turn on Peter, and they escape the condo while Green Goblin goes absolutely insane and even kills Peter's Aunt May, right after she tells Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Right after this, we get the big scene. Basically, Ned stole a sling ring from the Sanctum, and then he does this. Okay, that's enough of that. Anyway, now don't get me wrong, it is very awesome seeing them back in this movie. But there's also a really weird silence after their scenes because they need audience reactions, and well, they got that. You know, imagine if Ned didn't stop after Toby and kept slinging. That room would have probably looked something like this. They meet on the rooftop and talk about the various loved ones they lost, like Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy. We see that Peter is on the Statue of Liberty, which is being redone with a Captain America shield. J. Jonah Jameson is just really mad that Peter's going to destroy another landmark. The Spider-Man fix each other's backs, and then they talk to each other, and then the villains come back, and we get these now legendary shots. They use cures to stop the villains. They first use it on Sandman and the Lizard. And Doctor Strange shows up, finally escaping that mirror world thing. There's a really nice interaction with Andrew and Electro, as well as with Toby and Doc Ock. But then, Green Goblin shows back up. There's a massive explosion that nearly causes MJ's death, but thankfully Andrew saves her, and he actually does save her, unlike what happened to his love. But this explosion causes a ripple in the multiverse, where various people from various dimensions who know Peter's identity can see into this universe. Peter and Goblin fight, and it's a very brutal fight, and Peter's about to kill him before Toby stops him, and is then stabbed by Goblin. Andrew gives him a neuralizer and stops him. Doctor Strange is closing the rifts to prevent an even worse catastrophe. Peter makes the big decision to erase everyone's memories of himself. Peter says goodbye to the others, and Strange sends the villains and Spider-Man back. The movie ends as we see Peter's made a really nice new suit, and he swings through New York City, and that was Spider-Man No Way Home. Overall, I thought this was a great movie. It was a really good way to turn Spider-Man from Iron Man Jr. to Spider-Man. The villains coming back was fun, and Green Goblin especially had some great moments. Now, my biggest issue in this movie is probably the CGI. Most of it is fine, but there are some really weird shots in this movie because it can look pretty iffy. I don't know. The main issue for me is that there's a lot of noticeable green screen, especially since COVID made them rely heavily on the green screen. Plus, I always thought the Sandman and Lizard CGI looked a little off. But even with those minor flaws, this movie is still an overall 8 out of 10. I have seen Brand New Day, it was pretty good, even if I had issues with it, but I'll review that soon. Anyway, goodbye.